Today I want to show you how I teach using digits. This is part 2. One of the parts of every topic is what's called a readiness lesson. So I'm going to go to my Digits 8. I'm picking geometry, and I'm going to go to surface area and volume, topic 13. You'll notice the first lesson in every topic is a readiness lesson. Now, I like to use them because what it does is it kind of reviews material that the students have had in the past to make sure that they are ready and successful for what's coming ahead. One of the things you're going to want to do before you start a readiness is look at teacher resources. And one of the teacher resources is an activity sheet. There's a sheet G and K. G is on grade level. K just kind of gives more steps to the kids so they don't have to figure as much out. I like to use the G. And you want to pull that up, and it'll come up in a Word document. Mine was downloaded to my download folder, depending on how you have your browser set up. And so you can see that it is a Word document that's editable. And it is a handout. It's 2 pages that you would give to students to work in groups. The third page is the answer key. Obviously, don't give that out. So you want to have that ready to go before you start. The other thing I like to do is all the readiness lessons usually have a video in them that kind of ties it to something in the real world. This one is about making sand sculptures. I'm going to customize this lesson, and I've gone through already, and I'm going to, before we do example 3, I'm going to add a YouTube video that I found on sand sculptures. And so I'm going to insert a link, and URL, I've already have it in my clipboard. Title, and I think it's the 2011 Sand Sculpture Contest or Challenge. And I can see I already misspelled. And I'm going to click Add. Now I'm going to hit Save, so it adds that YouTube video to my lesson. And so here's what I do. I'm going to go ahead and start the intro. The introduction, again, is usually just something that ties it to the real world. This one is a video, as it usually is.
Nice work, Bub. I calculated exactly how much sand I needed for construction. Wow! I also had to precisely calculate the entire surface area to know how much blue solution would be needed to spray on my masterpiece. A lot, I'm guessing. 119
After
and
the video, I'm going to move on. The next slide usually has something for you to talk about in class, usually not necessarily dealing with mathematics. This one is, if you could make a sand sculpture right now, what design would you like to make? And you can call on kids randomly or draw sticks or have them raise their hand and just talk about sand sculptures. Sometimes they'll want to share about their experiences at the beach. And then how does volume relate to sand sculptures? And again, you can talk about that. The next slide of the intro is just saying that we're going to do 3 problems together. One is finding the areas of circles. One is finding the volumes of prisms and pyramids. The last is finding surface area of prisms and pyramids. And again, this should be something that they have already done in a previous year. So I move on to the next slide, which is example 1. I would make sure that when you're doing these problems that you allow the students to come up with the answers, to raise their hand, come to the board and do it, or to do it at their seat and then call on them, or do it as a class. Don't you just do this problem. If you need the solution, it's always here under the solution button. But you do this again, it just wants to see if students remember how to find the area of a circle. Then we go to example number 2. Here, they want to know which one uses more sand. You can ask questions such as, well, what is it when we're determining how much sand? Of course, it's volume. You could ask the question, or you could wait till they try to figure out, like, how do I find the volume of a rectangular prism? Or how do I find the volume of a square pyramid? But again, let the students try to figure this out. Let them struggle with it. Have them talk about it. Great opportunity to discuss in class. This should, again, be a review. Now, normally it would be example 3, but I added this YouTube video. Oops. Didn't mean to make it too big, sorry. Now, I chose this because it has some unique characteristics, a lot of really cool sand sculptures in it. But one of the things they talk about in this video, or you see them doing, is spraying a solution onto the sand sculpture to make it stick. And a lot of times the kids see the thing in digits and think, oh, that's made up. But it's not. It's something that really happens. And here you see a gentleman spraying his sculpture with a liquid, like a glue that kind of sticks it so that the wind doesn't just blow it all away. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the lesson. So I would let them watch this. Gives them a little bit of tying to real life. Oops. And I went back too far, sorry, but I'll start example 3 is where I would be next. And this question is asking which sculpture requires more solution to coat. Again, ask the vocabulary. What vocabulary, mathematical terminology are we using here? And we're talking about surface area. You could ask them, well, what are the formulas, or how do you find the surface areas of these shapes? You could do this before they work it out or after they work it out. Just depends on your students and where they are. But they should be able to do this problem. Again, there's a solution button that's always there that you can use if you need it. Finally, after example 3, they have what's called the close. The close looks like a reporting slide. This is the cue where you hand out that worksheet that I shared, that you downloaded and copied beforehand. The students work these out. I like to put them in teams when they work these out, have them work together. And what I do is I walk around the room and I just listen to their discussion. If they have questions, I may help them, although I try to help them as little as possible. This is a great indication for me to determine how much previous knowledge did they retain, and do they still remember? Am I okay to go ahead with the lessons without having to spend much time reviewing? Or are they really, really stuck? Am I really going to have to spend some more class time to go over these concepts in which they should already know? So this is a great learning day for me to see them work on this lesson. When they're done, and usually they can finish this within 20 minutes or so, you'll notice this quick report here that they will fill out. That is what's here on this slide. You can call on teams to come up and fill in their information. After they've done that, I usually, during class, we go over the entire document together, the entire handout, and talk about it as we go. If I run out of time, which I have very few minutes, 40 minutes a day, then I will have them bring it back the next day completed if they didn't finish it in class. The next slide is then just a review. we found areas of circle, and it talks about that. If I click this button, it's going to bring up a picture. Sometimes it's a video. I also found the volume of prisms and pyramids. Again, just a review of how to do that. And finally, the surface area of prisms and pyramids. The very last slide, a lot of times, is just a clip.
Glue.
Very short, and it has now a question. How much will this object hold? How much material will it take to cover that object? These are the type of questions that they'll be able to answer given cylinders, cones, and spheres, which is what we're going to do in this topic. Hope that gives you an idea of what a readiness lesson does.